Welcome to a short video about Hogan's Heroes history, specifically the filming locations of the exterior shots at Stalag 13. I visited the Los Angeles area recently and realized that I was staying near the location where the exterior shots for the Hogan's Heroes sitcom were filmed. This area was known colloquially as the 40-acre backlot. Still image credits within the first part of the presentation go to Google Maps for the modern maps and the other sites and resources shown. Sorry if I've missed any other credits due to the source not being clear from the web searches. In this first section, I'm mostly compiling existing annotated old images and adding a few bits of insight where I know something, or have learned something from my visit. The Stalag 13 set was built for the Hogan's Heroes sitcom, which aired for 6 seasons on CBS from 1965 to 1971. The set was in Culver City, California, in Greater Los Angeles. Downtown LA is about 10 miles to the east. Hollywood proper is around 7 miles to the northeast. Venice Beach on the Pacific Ocean is 5 miles west. LAX is about 7 miles to the southwest. The hotel I stayed at is indicated in the upper yellow oval. The 2 yellow ovals in the lower central portion of the picture show 2 locations. On the left, a set of studio buildings for interior shots, although not used for Hogan's Heroes. And on the right, at the time, were exterior sets built for various productions by various film companies over time, such as RKO, Pathé, Desilu, and so on. These exteriors included the Hogan's Heroes Stalag 13 set. My understanding is that the Hogan's Heroes interior shots were filmed at a couple different locations in Hollywood, which I haven't researched for this video. Here's a close-up of the former backlot location. This is completely different than what it looked like back in the heyday of the studios. In 1976, this area was sold off and converted into light industrial and office buildings, which you see on the modern map. This roughly triangular area is defined on the north by Higuera Street, on the west by the rear property boundary of a single row of houses that face Lucerne Avenue, and on the south by Ballona Creek, not to be confused with Baloney Creek. Here I list a couple of notable movies and TV shows filmed in this location: King Kong, Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane, and the less well-known Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, which was partially filmed on the leftover Stalag 13 set just before the demise of this property, in terms of its use for exterior film sets. Many TV shows, either regularly or for a few scenes, were also filmed on the backlot, including The Real McCoys, The Andy Griffith Show, Gomer Pyle, and of course Hogan's Heroes. Now we'll harken back to 1956 by overlaying this aerial view. I've used Higuera Street, Lucerne Ave, Ballona Creek as references to align and overlay this old picture on top of the modern map. 1956 was nearly a decade before the Hogan's Heroes series started. There are some leftover sets from Gone with the Wind, including the Terra Mansion toward the upper left of the property, as well as the Atlanta train depot to its right. Pay particular attention to the area up and to the left, that is, northwest, of the Terra Mansion, as we transform to the picture in 1972. The show ran from 1965 to 1971, so technically this picture was taken after the series ended, but the set remained in place for the moment. Some residue of the Terra Mansion is also still at the bottom right of the Stalag 13 area. Also indicated below Stalag 13 is the Gomer Pyle set, and the Atlanta train station is shown as having burned down. Other sets farther to the right were used for the Andy Griffith Show and many others. Next, I've added an oval around Stalag 13, plus 4 black lines to indicate some of the main locations in the camp: the main gate, the area in front of Hogan's barracks, the area in front of the commandant's office, and the water tower plus dog pen. This is an aerial view from 1975. The Stalag set is obliterated, with the space having been earmarked for other uses. Several other sets are still in place across the backlot, but by and large it was all in a state of great disrepair. The following year it was all revamped, leading to the picture you see today. This time I've carried over the yellow oval and 4 black lines from the 1972 picture to indicate where those positions sit today. They're located in that parking lot area, and with some of the historical set encroaching into the surrounding modern buildings. We'll take a closer look at that area on location in a moment. Also note the blue rectangles indicating the landmark L-shaped and gabled houses. Let's take a closer look at those. The bottom left image shows the L-shaped house, although by now it's rather rectangular due to a garage attachment after most of the old images. The gabled house is shown from a few different angles to emphasize its unique sightlines. Let's look at the backlot area from a couple different angles. For those who are spatially challenged, just bear with me as we talk through this. The lower left picture shows the backlot looking a little bit to the south of east. Thus, to the front left of the picture in the blue oval is the area where Stalag 13 would eventually exist. The set here in 1963 represented Jerusalem for a film called The Greatest Story Ever Told, released in 1965. That set must not have remained too long before being replaced by Stalag 13 in support of the Hogan's Heroes pilot episode in 1965. I've also indicated the L-shaped house, which in this view is to the bottom middle, and the gabled house to the left of the oval. The top right picture from 1960 shows that the Jerusalem set had not yet been built. This picture is taken looking north, concentrating on the western edge of the backlot. There's also a view of a strange-looking tower in the middle of the picture. This is an oil rig. For those who don't know, the LA area was an early oil boom region, with many small wells still operating today. This one didn't survive, but it operated there for several years. This was not part of a studio set. It was the real deal. These pictures both look west across the backlot. They might even be the same picture with different zoom and cropping. In the bottom left image, I've laid an oval around the Stalag 13 set. Farther in the background can be seen the rectangular block of studio buildings used for interior shots, but again, these were not used for filming Hogan's. The top right picture shows the Stalag 13 set in a little closer, with the L-shaped house behind it and the gabled house to the right. Finally, before we go on site for our 2024 visit, here are a couple close-up views of the set. Let's study the top left picture first. Just below where the year 1965 is annotated on the image is the main gate. The barracks buildings can be seen, as well as the recreation hall building just next to the number 40 in the annotated title. The commandant's office is across from the barracks buildings, and from this angle we see the back side of the building, which reveals that it was a false front building with the whole back open, no roof and no walls on the back side. That gives you a feel for the trickery used in film and TV. Also indicated in the foreground by the original creators of the image are the other set pieces that were used for Hogan's exterior scenes, including the train station, a barn, and other house fronts. High berms, particularly the one along the right edge of this image, were built up at the edge of the backlot property to shield the set from the very nearby suburban landscape. This avoided, for example, General Burkhalter's staff car rolling into camp in the middle of winter while the neighborhood kids go for a swim in the pool. The bottom left image is a nice close-up looking roughly south. You can see the whole camp from a different perspective than we've seen so far. Here the front gate is on the left. From this view, it is clear that some of the barracks buildings were also false front or half buildings. The water tank and dog pen are near the middle of the image, and I think Schnitzer's dog truck is the vehicle next to the dog pen. There is also a mess of contemporary cars just off to the side, so this was the parking lot for the crew and actors, I suppose. Based on the position of the people and other movable objects in the image, the rightmost picture seems to be the exact same image as we just discussed, but we get a broader view of the surroundings. This offers us a view of both the L-shaped house here to the right and the gabled house here at the bottom middle of the image. With that overview and history outlined, let's transition to the modern location. And here it is, the hallowed, well, at least the paved over ground of Stalag 13. This parking lot is the heart of the old camp. Let's look at how we got here by way of a short walking tour. We'll start at the corner of Ince and Lucerne, which is just off this map where the arrow is pointing. We'll turn to look back toward what was called the studio's Ince Gate. There is a gate in roughly the same location right now, though it's nothing like the simple chain-link fence gate that was in place in the studio days. Proceeding up Lucerne Ave, we'll briefly stop to see the L-shaped house. Once we reach the corner of Lucerne and Higuera, we'll turn down Higuera, take a gander at the gabled house, and finally proceed into the industrial park where the Stalag 13 set was located. Standing at the corner of Ince and Lucerne, the camera swings briefly to look down Ince Street to the current gate. We head up Lucerne Ave, a quiet residential section, and come upon the L-shaped house with the garage addition being on the right side. Interesting color, eh? After magically transporting across the street to get a wider view of the L-shaped house, we complete our trip up Lucerne Ave. From the corner of Lucerne and Higuera, we proceed east along Higuera. A brief pause lets us see the gabled house. From there, we proceed through an entryway that did not exist at the time of the studio backlot. And lo and behold, in front of us is the location of the old Stalag 13 compound. Here are a couple comparison shots looking roughly south. In the old picture, you can see the gabled house and the L-shaped house, which, by the way, are not on the market, but could fetch around $1.8 million if placed on the market today. Here's Lucerne Ave. Proceeding down from the middle right into the bottom center of the picture, and Higuera, going from there to the left. The entryway that we walked through didn't exist back in the day, but would have been about here. Now, with the L-shaped house and gabled house in view, we descend into the compound area. Yeah, it's just a parking lot, but it's a reminder that there are sometimes pieces of history where one might least expect them. One last view looking to the west now. The airplane-based picture from the old days on the left was at a higher altitude than the modern picture on the right. In any case, along the right edge of each picture is Higuera. This was the Stalag 13 area in the studio days. Off in the distance are the interior studios used by Ince, DeMille, Selznick, and many others, though not for Hogan's. Some of those old buildings are still standing, while others are not, including the once iconic water tower. With that little journey through history and a view of what has become of the 40-acre backlot in Culver City, California, let's conclude. Thanks for watching.